Welcome to the Prophecy Club. I don't put important, that word, in the title of a broadcast very often. I think this might be the third time in 24 years. But I'm going to put the word important into this broadcast because I think it is that important. First of all, I'm going to start with a disclaimer. I cannot prove a word of what I'm about to say. None of it comes from me. And the only reason I'm about to mention these things is because I have two prophecies that seem to confirm it, which I will cover first. I also want to say that some of the information I'm about to say is you're going to raise your eyebrows. You're going to say, oh, really? Can you prove that? So let me just start by saying I do not have a private investigator. I have not met anyone out underneath some streetlight. No one has slipped an envelope to me. This does not come from any flesh source other than the two sources that I mentioned. But the reason I bring it to you, and the reason I think that I understand what is going on, is because I have the Bible. I have prophecies. I have prophecies in the Bible. I have prophets that have been speaking. And ever since I memorized the book of Revelation, revelations have been coming to me like not only just when I go back and refresh my memory on the book of Revelation, a lot more often. Now, Jesus did say that the Holy Spirit would lead us into all truth. And of course, it is my call in life to teach Bible prophecy and do a radio program on Bible prophecy. So I think you can see that there would be a reason that God would begin to speak things to me and help me to bring a warning to his people. So with that said, let's get started. In 2017, Pastor Massey called me and he gave a prophecy. He said this came to him and he said that 2017 will be a prosperous year, a celebration and great happiness. Well, I think that was correct. He also said in another prophecy that the U.S. military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public will go out of order. Let me read that again, because that's one of the foundational points of this broadcast. The U.S. military will come in to help Trump. Let me say it again. Help Trump. Let me say it again. The U.S. military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public. The public will go out of order. Then Terry Bennett was prophesied, and he said that what the United States is going to go through is civil conflict, civil war, then invasion. I saw in the governmental area, we will go through a dramatic change in our government. Well, a lot of folks already say that's happening with the election of Donald Trump. A dramatic change in our government. There will be a time of anarchy and chaos. For a while, we will have a fractional government, which means basically our government will come down to the state level because of the military stepping in and having to seize control of our federal government. We would call it a coup, but in all honesty, it would be to help our nation. That is why the military will step in. Lawlessness, chaos was shown to me in civil unrest. The angel Gabriel told Terry that when the checks from our government stop coming to the people, the chaos will ensue. Now, the reason that's important is because Trump right now is discussing possible welfare reform and talking about sending people back to work if you want a check, no more free checks. Okay? Now, here's the whole point of what that's saying. I've got two people that's saying that the military is going to step in and take control of our federal government. Wow. Now, see, when I heard that, I thought, because Obama was in charge when I heard that, I thought, oh, man, yeah, that sounds like a military takeover. That sounds like some kind of martial law or something. But only just in the last few days have I put the shoe on the other foot. Have I been able to see, and it just kept coming to me. What might be happening is something actually good. It might be our chance for Jeremiah 51 verse 9 to be fulfilled. Jeremiah 51 verse 9 says, we would have healed Babylon, speaking of America, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. and let every man return into his own country. Meaning, I believe that this is our time. This is our last chance for this nation to be healed. If America does not turn, and that's not just revival, that's not just repentance, although that's got to be part of it, but if we don't remove the corruption, then God is going to allow us to fall. This, I believe, led by Donald Trump, is our opportunity. You might say Donald Trump is our Gideon. He is our Samson. Both of those cases, go read them in the Bible. This was a case where God used one person to basically decapitate the evil from a nation. Go read the stories. On November the 18th, according to Hal Turner, I made an entire program of what I have condensed to one paragraph here. He says that a large contingent of Marines arrived at CIA headquarters in tilt-rotor aircraft, and when the Marines deplaned, they were armed and moved quickly into CIA headquarters. Conspiracy theorists are claiming the President of the United States is moving to take out rogue elements in the intelligence community at the request of his new CIA director. It is rumored that these rogue elements have been undermining the administration since before it took office. Now, update. The very next day, they came out with additional information, this also from Hal Turner. Yes, on November the 18th, that's a Saturday, a group of military aircraft approached and circled the CIA headquarters for upwards of 30 minutes, but did not land, did not enter, and take the CIA headquarters forcibly or otherwise. Okay, which one is true? Well, on November the 20th, I remember seeing a report on Fox News, and I just looked it up, and it wasn't hard to confirm it at all. All I had to Google is military bomb poppy. Those three words, and I found it. Here it is. This, and by the way, there were several articles, which confirms the information. The title of the article that I pulled a few sentences from is called "The U.S. Begins Bombing Taliban Drug Labs as Trump's Afghan Strategy Takes Hold." The U.S. and Afghanistan launched a series of strikes on November 19th, targeting alleged narcotics laboratories, a key source of revenue for the Taliban, and I'm going to add, also the CIA. In my 24 years of being on radio, interviewing a lot of different people, hearing a lot of different talks, there are numerous people that have said the CIA's primary objective is the control and distribution of drugs globally, and that money goes to fund their black projects. Specifically at the top of the list is your underground military laboratories such as S4 and Area 51 and others. Reportedly, the CIA was invaded on the 18th. Then on the 19th, the very next day, U.S. and Afghanistan is launching strikes. To me, that confirms what's said. The article says that Afghan A-29 warplanes, B-52 bombers, and advanced F-22 fighters were used. There were many, many targets that had been identified and will continue to strike these targets as we further refine them. Asked why the strikes were not carried out until now, nearly 3 months after Trump approved this new strategy, Nicholson said the operation required extensive preparation. Well, could it be that they didn't really have the targets until they invaded the CIA headquarters? Required extensive preparation and observation by surveillance aircraft. The Drug Enforcement Administration estimates that there are 400 to 500 opium laboratories scattered across Afghanistan, and only about 10 of them have been bombed so far. These strikes required the mapping of the revenue streams and infrastructure. Okay, so we still have one big question. Was the CIA invaded and were files taken? And is this the reason that they were able to bomb and take out some of these CIA money production opium facilities or not? So I got some information from Benjamin Fulford. Now, again, I received this from a friend by email. I do not know Benjamin Fulford personally and cannot vouch for him or any word of this either. But he says, this is dated November 27th, 2017. And I put part of this on a radio program, but I'm going to skip through a lot of it because I have a bigger point to make today. Guys, we are winning, he says. Folks, it will not be long before the Khazarian, okay, the Khazarians are, when you hear that word, think international bankers. Think people above president that rule the world and its finances. It will not be long before the Khazarian debt slavery, mind control matrix, and the criminals are rounded up. The Marine raid last week on CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, has yielded a huge haul of actionable intelligence, say Pentagon and other sources. Trump is winning big, with Clinton-linked pedo rings, that's pedophile, pedo rings busted in China as well, the Philippines, Africa, and Germany. Many tribunals and sealed indictments across the U.S. are approaching 4,000. That's important to remember. Let me read that again. Military tribunals and sealed indictments. What's a sealed indictment? That means that someone has stood up in front of a grand jury and said, this guy over here has broken the law. But we don't want that guy to know because we aren't ready to arrest them yet. So they indict them, but they seal the indictment. According to one of these guys, either Fulford or Hal Turner, normally there's anywhere from 50 to 100 sealed indictments all across America at any one particular time. And according to them, they have never seen a time when there are over 4,000 sealed indictments. My question is, what's going on? And I'm just going to pause here for a second. Either Jeff Sessions, our Attorney General, has been asleep at the wheel, and he has not been doing his job, as we've seen Trump, for example, information leaked. We've seen all kinds of things done wrong since Trump has been in office. Either Jeff Sessions has fallen asleep at the wheel and he is not doing a very good job, or he's actually been very busy. And that's the reason we have 4,000 sealed indictments. They don't want to start arresting people and then send all of the roaches into hiding, so to speak. So they sealed the indictments until they have all of these people ready to round up. Now, let's go back to what was said here. Let's continue with the article. The raid was made possible because Trump signed an executive order on October 20th to recall retired military to active duty in order to take down the Bush-Clinton cabal, the Jewish mafia, to purge the CIA and FBI of traitors. And they said that during the November 18th raid on CIA headquarters, computers, documents were seized, and as a result, some 400 drug facilities were located, and the U.S. military began bombing them in Afghanistan on November the 19th. Well, we have that confirmed. So because we have the bombing confirmed, on the day after supposedly the CIA headquarters were not invaded, makes us think that maybe they actually were invaded, and maybe they did, in fact, find the 400 drug facilities, and they began bombing them to take out the financial backing of the CIA. Maybe it's a decapitation of American government that is corrupt. Okay, let's go back to the article. Some 400 drug facilities which were located, and the U.S. military began bombing them in Afghanistan on November 19th. They added that the bombed locations were labeled as the Taliban's in order to, quote, be politically correct. In other words, they didn't want the world to think that there's a civil war going on inside the military-industrial complex in America. However, that's what the two prophecies say. The Marines have proven once again that they are always faithful, as this was not just a military operation, but an intelligence operation, a psychological warfare operation, and the largest anti-drug operation in history. In addition to cutting off heroin money from Afghanistan, cutting off the air flights and land connections to North Korea, it has also stopped the flow of amphetamine money to Khazarians, in other words, the international bankers. The ongoing legalization of marijuana worldwide has also cut off that source to the Khazarian black money. With CIA drug money influence drying up, the International Criminal Court is posed to prosecute the CIA and the Bush cabal for torture and other war crimes in Afghanistan as well as elsewhere, the Pentagon and other sources say. Also, one of the largest corruption cases in U.S. military history has led to the investigation of 440 people, including 60 admirals, one-third of the Navy's top brass, the removal of these corrupt officers, mostly stationed in Asia, and I'm going to skip part of that. The U.S. Marines raided the CIA in Langley, Virginia, and retrieved a lot of evidence implicating well-known politicians of embezzlement, election rigging, identity fraud, assassination plots, murders, domestic terrorism, and pedophilia. Now, again, remember my disclaimer. I cannot prove a word of this entire broadcast. It does not come from me. I'm only the delivery boy here, okay? I cannot prove it. Only reason I bring it to you is I have two prophecies that seem to confirm it. Now, I'm going to say some things that, frankly, I'm a little concerned to even say. So, again, I'm going to say I do not know that this is true. This is not coming from me. This comes from Benjamin Fulford. Go Google him. Go to his website. You can find the same stuff. Item 1, CIA headquarters has been raided. The FBI has been neutralized, and $35 trillion of U.S. Treasury embezzled funds have been recovered. About $100 trillion has been embezzled by the Bushes and the Clintons. President Donald Trump reopened the President John F. Kennedy assassination files, and George H.W. Bush was behind it. JFK autopsy photographs were falsified. The sexual harassment outgoings of all these members of Congress is a mainstream media distraction for what's really going on, which is the U.S. Marines raid in CIA headquarters and President Trump imposing martial law behind the scenes. They now have proof and evidence that Hillary Rodham Clinton has committed election fraud, surprise, surprise, treason, and sedition. She's a drug dealer. She's committed mass murder. She's murdered people at the State Department as a murder-for-hire scheme. This country will not have a deficit once protocols are implemented. So for those of you out there that are waiting for a big blessing, maybe this has something to do with it. $100 trillion comes in, $35 trillion goes right into the U.S. Treasury, and there's another $15 trillion surplus. We can cut taxes, rebuild the military, create a great infrastructure program for this country, and Donald Trump will go down as the greatest president since Ronald Reagan. George H.W. Bush tried to assassinate President Reagan 3 times during Reagan's 8-year presidency. Daddy Bush and Hillary Clinton have also tried to assassinate President Donald Trump 7 times. Again, this is not from me, okay? Not from me. Go to Benjamin Fulford, look up his website. It came from him. Also, when the U.S. Marines raided the CIA buildings, they recovered pre-9/11 terrorist attack financial transactions, insurance documents, and other papers. Documents now in possession of the U.S. Marine Intelligence. The arrest of top media bosses is imminent, they say. That was several weeks ago. Here's what just came out here in the last few days, again, from Benjamin Fulford, not me, not this ministry. He now says that there's no longer just 4,000. There's now 10,000 sealed indictments to take down Khazarian mobs, and U.S. President Donald Trump spent the weekend at Camp David with his top generals to map out the exact strategy for decapitating the Khazarian mafia worldwide, say these Pentagon sources. The Atlanta airport was shut down while the Department of Defense refused to disclose the locations of 44,000 U.S. troops who may be involved in terminating the cabal worldwide. Now, let me pause a second. If that's true, it may be that they plan to use these 44,000 U.S. troops to serve these 10,000 sealed indictments in like almost an overnight mass arrest thing. You see, that would be basically cutting off the head of most of the evil leadership in America that would fulfill the prophecies. There are now close to 10,000 sealed indictments as more and more of the Khazarian criminals give up evidence on their colleagues, the sources say. There are also many extrajudicial killings going on. In any case, no matter how many potential witnesses are bumped off, the situation has reached a point where the Khazarians will not be able to murder their way out anymore. The December 12th senatorial election in Alabama, for example, was a sting operation against the Khazarians. Nonetheless, we're reaching the point where even these people will be forced to face reality. The entire FBI and Justice Department network that tried to protect Hillary Clinton from prosecution is also being systematically exposed and dismantled. Now, let me pause. I try to watch a lot of Fox News. I get a lot of information via email, and our researchers, and thank you very much for all those out there that do send us emails to, by the way, it's Ask Stan at prophecyclub.com, and I am the only one that sees those emails. But one of my favorites is Sean Hannity. I think Sean Hannity is a true watchman that is doing his best to try to save America. Good for you, Sean Hannity. Keep going. And I kept wondering when I was going to finally hear the word jail, because he keeps every night exposing all of this evil going on. And for the first time Friday night, I heard him say jail. He finally started saying, when is someone going to jail over this? When is someone going to jail? Someone needs to go to jail. Someone needs to be locked up. Well, that's kind of the point of the whole broadcast. We got to ask ourselves, who's telling the truth? Who knows the truth? And what's the most important thing that we can look at is we got two people that are saying the same thing in the prophecies, which I'll get to here in just a second. So we got 44,000 U.S. troops that may be ready to round up some 10,000 sealed indictments for a great decapitation of much of the federal government, which would fulfill this prophecy. Now, let's complete reading this, then let's get to the prophecies. Now, again, this is Benjamin Fulford. Now, even the corporate media is being forced to accept that the so-called Islamic State was actually a CIA creation. This is coming out now because the November 18th U.S. military raid on the CIA has shut down Operation Mockingbird. I don't know what that is. And the corporate media is being forced to report the truth. Okay, let's go back up now and tie this together with the prophecies, because without the prophecies, we wouldn't understand. Here's what we might be seeing. And I'm going to say it again. I want you to quote me correctly, because if there's anything of this whole broadcast that's coming from me, it's this. What I began to see is maybe these prophecies are about to come to pass. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years, 2 or 3 months, or 2 or 3 days. So let's look at the prophecies in light of what this is saying. 2017, Pastor Massey said would be prosperous, a celebration and great happiness, and it was. Then he says the U.S. military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public. The public will go out of order. Does that sound like what might happen with 10,000 sealed indictments, some 44,000 troops going out and arresting 10,000 people in some of the highest positions all across our land? Then Terry Bennett said what the United States is going to go through is civil conflict. 44,000 troops arresting 10,000 of the most corrupt leaders in America. Does that sound like that might cause civil conflict, civil war, then bring on invasion? It certainly does to me. But he went on to say, for a while we will have a fractional government, which means basically our government will come down to the state level. Can you imagine 10,000 of the top leaders in America arrested almost overnight by some 44,000 Marines, all arrested within a 24 to 48 hour period? Can you imagine that would fractionalize our government? Could that mean that basically our government would come down to the state level because the military had to step in? Could it be that the military stepping in is a good thing? Let me go on and read it again. Let me read this whole paragraph, because we got to get this. For a while, we'll have a fractional government, which means basically our government will come down to the state level because of the military stepping in and having to seize control of our federal government. We would call it a coup, but in all honesty, it will be to help our nation. That is why the military will step in. See, this is what kept coming to me. Okay, so I read this stuff, and I think, okay, well, that's interesting. But then it kept coming to me. No. Look at the prophecies in reverse, Stan. See, you're trying to stick the military taking over the government. You're trying to stick that on Obama. You're trying to think, oh, Obama declaring martial law, taking over America is a bad thing. But it just kept coming to me in my heart. And here's the way it works with these broadcasts. A lot of times it's just that things come into my heart. And then I just get on the broadcast and I share what's on my heart. Same thing happened when I memorized the book of Revelation. All of a sudden I began to see things and know things that was not just ink on paper. And here's what's been coming to my heart, that this is actually a good thing. This is actually Trump trying to drain the swamp, brothers and sisters. Let me read it again. For a while, we'll have a fractional government. Are you listening? a fractional government. Do you think 44,000 troops, rounding up 10,000 of the top leaders in America, would cause a fractional government? Which means basically our government will come down to the state level. Do you think that maybe the states have to take over because the federal government is in just such chaos because 10,000 of them are all in jail, all screaming for their attorney to get them out? Because the military steps in, having to seize control of our federal government. Let me read it again. Military steps in, having to seize control of our federal government. I didn't say this, okay? Okay. Pastor Massey and Terry Bennett seize control of our federal government. You'd call it a coup, but in all honesty, it will be to help our nation. That's why the military will have to step in. When's it going to happen? I don't know. I don't know that it's going to happen. Could be 2 or 3 years, could be 2 or 3 months, could be 2 or 3 days. You know, there's a wall coming. I'm not talking about the wall between Mexico and America. I thought about this the other day. There's a wall coming because we got a big election coming in November this year, the midterm elections. And the Republicans and the Democrats are both scrambling, trying to get back control of the House and the Senate. We also have another wall coming the end of this week. All of this budget thing. They're talking about stopping the government. Okay, so what if they don't do DACA? They don't get an agreement. What if the whole government shuts down? And you do know that the military is not part of the shutdown. So in the middle of the government shutting down, all of a sudden Trump says, go for it. Go get all those 10,000 people. He orders those 44,000 Marines, and over the weekend, we're talking about Monday morning. I don't know that it's going to happen then. I'm only saying we got two mouths here saying the same thing. Pastor Massey says U.S. military will come in to help Trump to take control of the public. Terry Bennett says for a while we'll have a fractional government. Our government will come down to the state level because the military has to step in and seize control of our federal government. You'd call it a coup, but it's actually going to help our nation. The military is going to step in. Is it about to happen? Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. When it comes time for your giving, remember Prophecy Club. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The next speaker at the Prophecy Club is Adam Johnson, president of the Harvest Bible Institute and Theological Seminary, has done over 150 conferences and debates defending the King James Version. He's going to be speaking January 26, 27, and 28. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Prophecy Club. Friday, Saturday, doors open at 6, speaking from 7 to 10:30, gift of $10 at the door. No charge Sunday morning, doors open at 8:30, speaking from 9 to noon. It'll be 3 DVDs, gift of $45. Title is King James or 400 Counterfeits. Topics are why King James, inspiration preservation, biblical comparisons, arguments against King James, manuscript history, numbers, we found the truth, King James in our modern language. 3 DVDs, gift of $45. Prophecy Club Corner, Parking K, 2540 K Avenue in Plano. Doors at 6, speaking from 7 to 10:30. See you there! So, we get our taxes cut, and maybe Trump even fixes our health care. Well, you don't have to be a Bible prophecy expert to know we're still headed for troublous times, and gold and silver is still one of the best ways to preserve your assets for the coming trouble. The question is, what's best for my situation? Gold or silver? Bars or coins? Spot collectible or junk coins? Call my friends at Redwood Gold Group and ask for a free gold kit to get updated, because not all gold is equal. And ask for a free IRA kit, which will help you to make your decision to place gold in your IRA or not. And with a minimum order, you can get a free safe, which allows you to store your gold at home and still keep it in your IRA. Call 800-696-6414. 800-696-6414. It helps Prophecy Club. That's 800-696-6414, and mention Prophecy Club when you call. RedwoodGold.com. RedwoodGold.com.